A little bit goes a long way. Do not over apply this. I cannot, let me say it again for the people in the back. Do not over apply this. Hi you guys, welcome back to the Clean Beauty Code. I'm so excited for this video because we are doing another concealer review. We are doing a review of the new Milk Makeup Concealer. What is the full name? The Milk Makeup Future Fluid All Over Cream Concealer, and I'm so freaking excited. I actually got a bunch of questions about this, but this took me a little bit of time to film, test out, and stuff because I've been testing a lot of stuff. So I'm finally filming this, and I'm really excited. I have some thoughts, and definitely have some good tips and tricks and all of that. We're going to be doing a full try-on under eyes because mama needs some under eye concealer. Like, you can't tell necessarily in studio lights, but I look a little bit crazy right now. So we're going to be doing a full try on. We're also going to be doing a full breakdown review, and then I'm also going to be comparing and contrasting to other concealers that I have in my collection that I feel like you might have questions about comparably to this concealer. So I just want to jump into this video and get started. I don't want this to be a super long video. I always say that, and then I can't stop yapping. So if you're excited for this video and more videos like this, then please like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this Milk Makeup Concealer review. Okay, you guys, we're in a little bit closer because I want you to see all the nitty gritty, all the stuff for the under eyes. So this again is the Milk Makeup Concealer. What is this full name? It's Milk Makeup Future Fluid All Over Cream Concealer. What a mouthful, am I right? But this is the component, and the shade that I got is 16.0. Now I originally got a different shade that was, ooh, whoa, crazy, insane. Just not the vibe at all. It really was super light, but also when I went to exchange it, because I got a different shade, because I'd ordered it from Sephora, so I went and exchanged it for a different shade. It took me forever to find a shade, you guys, that worked, because I felt like the descriptions were kind of funky and it wasn't necessarily really working for at least my complexion. It took really long to find a shade. And you know, I find that with all brands, like sometimes the descriptions or the names or like the labeling isn't always necessarily accurate, but this is a decent shade match. So I'm going to swatch this for you. Again, this is the shade 16.0, which is like an olive tone. So let's swatch it right here for you guys. I would say it's a little bit yellow, but it's not anything terrible. It's fine. Like, I definitely make it work. I'm going to blend it out with a brush really quick just on the back of my hand for you, just so you can see kind of how it blends. So that is that there. So it's not a terrible match at all once you kind of blend it out. So let's get into it. What I will say is, you guys, a little bit goes a long way. Do not over apply this. I cannot, let me say it again for the people in the back. Do not over apply this. A little bit goes a very long way, but also you can get, we'll get into the full review, but like, trust me, a little bit goes a long way. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to blend it with a brush on one side and a sponge on the other side, just so you can see how it applies. So I'm going to apply on this side. That's how much I'm going to apply. Okay. That's what I'm going to apply. And I'm going to blend it out with a sponge on this side. And that even honestly is enough. I'm going to apply a little bit more just so we can get like the full zest of it. But on the tip of this, hold on, let me like dip it back in. Okay, so this is how much product is on the brush, on the applicator. That is too much product, way too much product. So clean it off. So this is what it looks like. I just cleaned it off. And then we're going to apply again right here. Just a little bit. That's it. Okay? That's all we're going to do. And then I'm going to blend it again with the sponge. This is a mini beauty blender. Isn't it so cute? Why is it so small? I love it. It's so cute. So that is it blended with a beauty sponge on this side. I'm going to blend it with a brush on this side. You can also do it with your fingers. My preference with this is not to do it with your fingers unless you apply the smallest amount at a time, because I find that if you blend it with your fingers, not enough product gets absorbed, because it seems like I applied basically nothing, but trust me. So that is all I'm going to apply on this side right now. I'm going to take this brush here again. I actually forgot that I had this concealer brush, and I actually really like it. So this is kind of like a kitten paw style one. And I really like it. I know Real Techniques makes one, but I do believe it went viral on TikTok, so it sold out and it's really hard to find now. Definitely grab this brush if the Sephora sale is still happening, because if you can't find that Real Technique ones, this isn't a great alternative. So that is it blended with a brush. I'm gonna, again, apply a little bit more on this side because I did on this side. Having a hard time here. So I'm gonna apply a little bit more, because I applied a little bit more on this side. So it's only fair. It is only fair. And I'll blend really quick. This is a great concealer brush. I also really like the Ami Collet one, which I've mentioned a ton on this channel. I'm gonna take the edge and blend with my fingers. Okay, you guys, that is the concealer on. I applied a little bit of mascara on my bottom lashes to balance out the heavier lid that I have right now. So let's kind of get into this whole breakdown. So this again is the Milk Makeup concealer, and this is in the shade 16-0. I'm going to do a little bit of a blend for you on the back of my hand with a sponge, just so you can see how it blends out with a sponge. Really pretty blend. Love it. So my preference with this concealer, I don't know if I said it, so I'm going to say it right now, is with a sponge. But depending on the brush that you're using, a brush can be great too. So I prefer a brush kind of like this. This is like a doe foot E brush, or something that where the bristles aren't like aren't packed in as like dense. It's kind of a little bit more bendy. I don't know about that, but it kind of has, you can see it has a little bit more bend, but the bristles aren't packed super, super tight together. So there is like a looseness to how it's packed in the brush. So let's kind of get into the wear. So this is definitely, or how it kind of is. So this is definitely more of a natural finish under your eyes, which I like a lot, because natural finish is always like the move. My preference is either natural or more on the dewy side, which I know isn't everyone's favorite. But I love a dewy. I normally do a really, really dewy complexion. So having something like super matte under the eyes looks a little cray cray. So if you do like a more dewy finish, but you don't love something dewy under the eyes, right? Like you like a dewy finish to your face, but not under the eyes. This gives you a very natural finish on the face. I mean, it's nice because it has a slight touch of a sheen. I mean, it's again natural, so it looks like skin. Now, what I will say again, and I said it when I was applying it, a little bit goes a long way with this concealer. Like if you over apply, you are going to feel like you applied way too much. A little bit at a time, a lot of the time with makeup is important. But what I will say is this does set up, and it sets relatively quickly. I mean, it's not the fastest setting concealer, but it sets up. So, which surprised me, because in general, stuff that sets up really quickly for me, it tends to be, for me, in my experience, tends to be something that's a little bit more on the matte side. And so I was surprised that it did set up relatively quickly. Not crazy, not the most insane setting ever, but it's not something where you can let sit for 2 minutes. Don't do that. It also depends on how much you apply. So if you apply a little bit, it sets up very quickly. I would say the max I would let it sit max is 30 seconds. My preference kind of is 30, depending on how much I'm applying. And I blend it out really quickly. And again, my preference is with a sponge. I just feel like it blends better with a sponge, but I love this type of brush for that too. So, I mean, you can see under eye wise that both sides look beautiful. And if I get really, really close with a magnifying mirror, which is just the most humbling thing on earth, both sides look incredible, like both blended beautifully, which makes me so happy. Now, again, this sets really quickly, or relatively quickly. It is more of a medium coverage. You can get full coverage, but it depends on how much you apply. I don't like to over apply. So for me, I kind of get medium plus depending, but I like to layer it as I go. It layers really nicely, which is nice. Sometimes when you layer concealers on top of each other, especially ones that like set relatively quickly, it can be a little bit of a mess. It can be a little bit of a creasy mess when you do that. This one doesn't do that. Now, I will say that if you over apply this will crease. It definitely creases, but again, that is normal. Our faces crease. It's supposed to crease. You're supposed to have creasy face because your face moves, right? And the best way to kind of get creasing, to avoid creasing, is to set your under eye. But also sometimes putting a eye primer under your eyes can do the trick as well. Setting your under eye, loose powder and packed powder together kind of give you like that no budge kind of finish and consistency look to the under eyes. Like, it doesn't really crease when you do that. But also sometimes letting your concealer sit, since this sets up relatively quickly, you have to find the perfect combo for you, because sometimes the air in your apartment can be too airy and then it sets faster. You know what I mean? It can be too airy in your apartment. Your AC can be too AC. It can be pumping a little too strong, and then it sets up relatively quick. So it kind of depends, right? But find the perfect kind of combo for you. Maybe start at 15 seconds or 30 seconds and work your way up depending on how much you're going to apply that day. But it sits really nicely when you layer it, which is nice. Like, it doesn't crease extra, which sometimes with concealers that set quickly, but also just with certain concealers, you get that. So this layers beautifully. Again, more medium coverage, medium plus coverage. But what's nice about this is, although, okay, it's a thicker consistency. I mean, it's not super thick, but it's not the thinnest consistency, if you can see. It is like a true concealer consistency. Although it is like that, it isn't, I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't look heavy under the eyes. You can wear it without makeup. And I feel like that's really important. And because it has a natural finish, if you're not wearing makeup that day, it blends nicely. The only thing I will say, if you are going to do that, find something that's a little bit, it's a good like match to your complexion. And don't go too brightening, because then it's always, concealer is more apparent when it's super brightening, but you're not really wearing any makeup on your face to kind of blend it into, if that makes sense. But the way that it blends is it's a thicker vibe when you pull it out. It's a thicker consistency when you pull it out. But when you apply it and you blend it out, it blends out to be really, really thin, which is wonderful. I really like the way that this wears throughout the day, comfortable, all of that jazz. Really, really nice. Now let's get into how it compares to other concealers. So let's jump in. So I'm gonna swatch this on the back of my hand, just so we can kind of compare and contrast. So I'm gonna do a little bit on the back of my hand. Again, shade 16O. Let's get into it. So let's compare it to the Kulfi concealer. Now, the Kulfi concealer is definitely more on the dewy side, so there's that. And it also, the first application is a little bit thinner than the Milk Makeup, but they blend out really, really similarly. Now, what I will say is, again, it's medium coverage. The Kulfi's medium coverage. The Milk Makeup, I believe, has a little bit more coverage. Like, I feel like when I layer, I get more coverage out of the Milk Makeup. I can get medium plus. I feel like this is more of a true medium concealer. Both amazing. Love both. I wear the shade Mango Drop in this one, and you can kind of see the difference here. So this is the Milk Makeup. This is the Kulfi in Mango Drop. More of a brightening shade, but both really, really nice. I enjoy them. Again, the Kulfi is more of a dewy concealer, but I would say the wear is really similar to them, like throughout the day, the way that they wear. I will say though, I do think the Kulfi one's a little bit more hydrating, but it is dewy, so that's kind of, that feels right because it's dewy, and one is a natural finish. So again, natural, dewy finish, medium to medium plus coverage. The blend is really similar. The way it wears throughout the day is really similar. The way my under eyes look is really similar in terms of creasing and all of that. I will say that I think the Kulfi one is a little less crease prone, but once I kind of figured out, don't over apply this one, and how long to let this sit so it didn't dry down super, super fast, I don't get creasing with this anymore, because I don't like to set my under eyes with powder, because sweetie, no. That's not for me. So the next, let's move on to this one. So this is the Cover FX Power Play Concealer, and I wear the shade N Medium 2 in this, and this is definitely a brightening shade again, but I love this concealer. I also have N Medium 3, but I don't know where that is. I think I lost it when I moved. So this is more of a full coverage concealer, and I do feel like this is a lot thinner. Okay, this might be, besides the LYS Beauty concealer, this might be the thinnest concealer that I have. Like, it is so thin in consistency. I mean, you can even see, it runs over a little bit because it's so thin. runs, like it goes crazy, but it moves because it is so thin. Again, more full coverage. I would say the finish here is natural as well, and this does not crease. This is amazing. If you want a good event concealer, this is going to be the concealer I recommend. I do think that the Milk Makeup would also be a great event concealer, but if you want something more full coverage, you go here for sure. This one I say medium plus, but this one, what I find with this one is I can't over apply it. So it's a little bit more dummy proof, whereas this one, do not over apply it at all. Both work well when you're not wearing any makeup at all, so it works well. It looks really, really natural without any makeup underneath it. Okay, so then next we have the Rose Inc concealers. Now these concealers, I have the shade, we'll just swatch my non-brightening shade. This shade is what is it, LX100 in the Rose Inc concealer, and I love this concealer. It's so freaking good. These two are like my top concealers of all time. They're just incredible. So again, I would say that the Rose Inc has a more natural finish as well, so in the same vein as this, but what I will say is it doesn't set up at all. I also will say I think that this one is a little bit more hydrating than the Milk Makeup concealer. Both are budge proof, but I feel like the Milk Makeup is slightly more budge proof than the Rose Inc, but the Rose Inc really doesn't move at all. But when I kind of look at the end of the day, I feel like when I did a side by side, I felt like the Milk Makeup moved a little bit less, like there was more product left at the end of the day with the Milk Makeup one. But I will say the Rose Inc one, I would say, is a little bit more of a comfortable wear. So there's the difference there. The Rose Inc one is medium coverage as well. I don't know if I said that, so I'm gonna repeat myself, but both are great concealers. So next, let's move on to this one. This is the Ilia concealer. I'm gonna do my true complexion-y one, the shade Shy in this. And this one is a similar consistency. It's a little thinner actually when you first pull it out of the container to the Milk Makeup concealer. They're both medium coverage. This is a true medium. This is more of a medium plus coverage. This one doesn't set up. This is more of a serum-y feeling. This still has a serum-y feel, but I would say that the Ilia one feels a little bit more serum-y. However, when they dry down, I would say that then the Milk Makeup feels a little bit more serum-y. It's really, really interesting the way that they kind of wear. Both are great wears throughout the day. Both blend seamlessly into the skin. The difference here again is, first of all, the applicators are very different, but also you need a lot less of the Milk Makeup one because it can crease. With the Ilia one, you can't really go wrong with how much you apply. Just don't over apply. Just don't over apply. It'll make your life a lot easier. Okay, next we have this one here. This one is the Lawless concealer, and I'll do my complexion shade one in this one as well. A lot of these I have like brightening and complexion-y shade ones. This one sets up crazy fast. Sets up fast, and she is more matte. And that's the difference there. I would say coverage-wise, they're relatively similar. I would say medium plus coverage, and this one is more drying for sure. For sure more drying, but if you prep your under eyes well, you're good with this one. But the Milk Makeup one, I would say, is a little bit easier of a wear if you have dry under eyes or even combo or normal under eyes. I would say that the Milk Makeup one is still a little bit more of a comfortable wear. Again, I have more dry under eyes in general, but I also have really leaky eyes, so it's like a really weird combination. But I do, in terms of the way that it wears throughout the day, prefer this one because it's a little bit more of a comfortable wear, but I also prefer something, again, that is more natural to dewy, and the Lawless concealer is more on the matte side. Okay, so the next we have this one, which I already mentioned, the LYS Beauty concealer. This one is a very thin consistency, like I said. So this is a more medium plus concealer. It's definitely hydrating, definitely thinner. Definitely a thinner consistency. The way that they blend is relatively similar, but first application, this is a thinner consistency, and this one you can let sit for like 45 minutes. Not really, but you can let this sit for super, super long and it doesn't like set up crazy, whereas this one you have to work faster. So that's kind of the difference there. But they're still both medium plus coverage. Both have decent hydration under the eyes. I would say the LYS Beauty is a little bit more hydrating under the eyes, but they're really similar. It just kind of depends on how you prep your under eyes too, on how stuff kind of sits and lays and the comfortability. Comfortability. I'm going to go with it. That can't be right, but the comfortability of them. But the difference here, again, is the consistency and how quickly they kind of set up. I would say that the LYS Beauty one is natural to dewy. I wouldn't say that it's full natural finish, but love them both. Okay, so then lastly, we have one more concealer, you guys. I've been talking for 100 years. Next, we have this one. So this is the Ami Colé concealer. Now I'm gonna go with this one here. This is the shade medium 2. Oh, I didn't tell you my shade in the LYS Beauty. I wear MN2. I also didn't tell you my shade in this one, the Lawless concealer. I wear the shade Blushed Honey. I'm gonna link everything down below with like the name, like my shades. So then here we have this one here from Ami Colé. This is definitely more of a serum-y consistency, and comparably to kind of how the other concealers minus the Lawless one sets up, this sets up slower. So you have more time to work with this. This is more medium coverage. And I would say that this has a natural to dewy finish. It's not, depending on the day or whatever, it can be a little bit more natural, but I would say that it has definitely a dewy finish at times, but it's not consistent. It depends on also how I prep my under eyes. But again, medium, dewy, but again, dewy to natural finish. Really nice consistency. A little bit of this goes a long way, and the difference here is you get more coverage here. You can kind of build this up a little bit more. This builds up beautifully, but you definitely, this one you definitely need to let sit. This one you kind of have to work a little bit quicker, but both are great concealers. I love them. And again, this is a great like corrector shade for me, but I also at times just wear it under my eyes and it just blends, especially depending on how blushy I make my face. Sometimes going with something a little bit more pink under my eyes is just the vibe, honey. Really good concealer. And yeah, that is it for this video. That is it for my Milk Makeup concealer review, or let's do the full name. Milk Makeup Future Fluid All Over Cream Concealer. Whoa. Got stuck on the words there for a second. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you found this really helpful. I tried to get into all the nitty-gritty of it all. And I hope that you liked that I did a try on. Let me know what you think of my under eyes down below. It's nice, right? Nice coverage. How did you like the blend? Did you prefer a blend? Did you prefer it with the brush or did you prefer it with the sponge? Let me know down below. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.